before I start something on strategy to make things simple, when we talk of strategy, why is it required in the first place? Why so much of a talk on transmission and distribution? Why so much on transmission? It is like to simplify things, it's more like a highway. If we simplify it as a highway, earlier there were not as many cars. Perhaps a two-lane highway was good enough, or a four-lane was good enough to a large extent. To do a six-lane highway or even a eight-lane highway gets full at many places. That depends on what needs to move from one place to the other. So it may be your four-wheelers, it may be some goods that needs to move. So if you say four-wheelers, you can say there is some smaller amount of power that is supposed to go. When you say a heavy vehicle, then it is a larger amount of power that needs to move from one place to the other. So for this, definitely you need an infrastructure. While moving across the road, what we talk of quite often is okay, how this was decided as to this place will be connected with a 6-lane or a 8-lane or whatever be the number, depending on whatever traffic was considered at that point in time. So our strategies literally are determined by whatever plans we have, whatever the best projections we have in terms of as to where we will generate, where we will consume. That has now become really difficult in terms of, we thought of like at a certain point in time, it was thought of if we distribute the generation, we went for a solar rooftop, whereby went for a distributed generation at different places with smaller quantities. That also became another problem, because you had more generation than whatever was being consumed at a certain point in time. Because most of those houses which provide solar rooftop as of now are bungalows which are becoming rare. Except for some say B class or C class cities, you won't find many bungalows. So if they are not bungalows, they are flats. You don't have as much of a space to provide solar power. So those bungalows, mostly you will find them empty. So now they are generating lot of power. So where will the power go? So now we need an infrastructure. So how good my infrastructure will be? My infrastructure will be as good as my data or my projections go as to this area will be inhabited like this, or I will bring up as many power plants in this area, maybe a solar, maybe a wind energy. Currently, as you can see, is a lot of development is going on solar power plant being located in Kutch. So whatever power is being generated in Kutch, there should be enough evacuation capacity to take that power to the other end. If not being used in Gujarat, then beyond Gujarat. So what is that infrastructure that is available, and how well we can upgrade that infrastructure as our infrastructure gets old? If many of you, if you have been working with a power plant, you already may be struggling with things like line tripping. I am talking of lines up to 220 kV. People may be working with a 33 kV or a 66 kV or a 220 kV line around them. Some may be working even with 11 kV, whereby reliability goes down considerably because that infrastructure has not been upgraded. Although in spite of everything, we see all around, if you say I come from a C class city, I can say, whereby now those poles, not transmission towers, I am talking of 415 volt distribution that takes place in any area. Those poles are now, instead of using naked wires, are now being provided with cables. One of the use being, you are trying to reduce the transmission and distribution losses around them. You are also talking a lot about smart meters all around. Smart meters, when we say it, also not only industry, when you talk of homes, homes also need those smart meters, so that you know at peak time what is being drawn, what is the power requirement in a particular area over a day. If you look at, say, power exchange, there's another dynamics that you will see there. At a certain point in time, maybe somewhere around May, when we did not see monsoon, the solar power generation was so high that solar power, renewable power, was available for as low as 90 paisa on certain slots. So that's the way we are placed in terms of renewable generation. Plus, there is another problem. If you are an operator, you'll see a problem in terms of the variation in frequency that you see around. Whenever there is a change, say typically around 10 to 11, or in the evening around 6 to 7, when your solar generation completely gives way, depending on whether it may give way at 5, so your frequency will go down on both the periods. At certain point in time, your frequency goes to 50.3, 50.35. At certain point, your frequency goes down to 49.6, 49.55. So that is the variability that still exists in spite of all scheduling that is done in terms of when thermal power is supposed to be injected, when thermal power is supposed to back out. Although hydropower is something which can perhaps get in faster, but we do not have as many hydropower stations to take care of those variations to that extent. So that is something that needs to be taken care. By whom? It is by the transmission line. Say I have got 5000 megawatt excess that is available in Northeast. I need that power somewhere in Rajasthan. So unless and until I have got an infrastructure that can flow my entire 5000 megawatt to this side, because there may be a 5000 megawatt line, but there may be as many consumers, maybe West Bengal drawing power from the same line, maybe Bihar drawing power, Uttar Pradesh drawing power. So everybody is drawing power. Finally, when it reaches Rajasthan, you are hardly left with capacity to draw 300 megawatt. In spite of having a generation capacity, you are unable to utilize it completely. So as I told, our strategy has to depend on whatever data is there, whatever projection is there, whatever development plans are there. It has to become more and more realistic instead of being something which is driven on drawing boards. Largely, most of our projections have been problematic at many a times. Especially, we see that in India, in our country, we see it quite often because large projections are there on drawing board. Yes, things are changing there also. Governmental projections are also changing. There are people who are getting in with a different mindset, who are getting and collecting data right from the ground level, getting the details, verifying them, and then getting into whatever is required. So this will be covered under strategies. Okay, see where we can generate maximum power. Solar power, obviously, it needs a lot of footprint. A while ago, we are being told of as to 52-meter right of way is required when you are laying up, say, transmission towers for 400 kV line, double circuit 400 kV line. I am also laying one of them. So I know, yes, that is right. And getting that space in between the industries, it becomes really difficult. So yes, space is a constraint. We need to look at lot of alternatives. We need to pump in power to the very same place. Perhaps the domestic power that was there while we were also being talked of, like things that were being talked when perhaps we were young. We have seen lot of power cuts. Currently, power cuts have gone down considerably all around the country, except for certain pockets that may still be having problems. So according to that, if you look around you, yes, the number of houses with AC, how many of them have increased? Say the domestic load goes as high as 5 kilowatt. Okay, so on a normal house, I'm not talking of a hi-fi home that may be a bungalow. You are talking of it may go very high. A normal household can go up to 5 kilowatt very easily. If you look at, okay, 3 ACs are there, okay, 2 AC, minimum will be 2 AC that you are looking at. If it is a 1 BHK, that also may be having some 2 ACs and all. So that's the kind of loading and that's the kind of change that will be there. Even the current changes that we have made in terms of power distribution, even if we get to say not only those main transmission lines, that LV transmission lines, the LV lines that are being laid, they also have to be upgraded. Perhaps those transformers that are there, which are distribution transformers, you need to look at them also as to what sizes need to be provided, what further alternatives, what further upgrades. A good idea that was given was in terms of hybrid transmission. I perhaps, yes, I do not have as much of knowledge on hybrid transmission. So that was something good that I came to know of. That is good as a strategy that can be picked up, that can be utilized if we can upgrade the existing infrastructure. So existing infrastructure, yes, existing infrastructure, lot of upgrade expenses are required. The infrastructure that has been quite old, say 25, 30 years old, and unfortunately has not seen good quality maintenance. What say my experiences I am sharing with you, a 28-year-old line that we have has now the transmission lines are now giving way. You find the transmission lines getting down. it falls down, sometimes the conductor falls down, sometimes the insulator falls down. So that demonstrates an inadequate maintenance. A maintenance strategy in parallel also needs to be developed as we grow in generation, in consumption. So that is something also that needs to be strategized. While we are never happy with like our power goes for even for 8 hours, we say अरे 8 घंटे क्या करते हैं भाई, ऐसा कौन सा काम कर रहे हैं, still power तो चला जाता है. But yes, these infrastructure also require a good quality of maintenance. A quality maintenance is required, a good strategy is required around them so as to get reliable power. So reliable power, a smart grid with a good metering arrangement can essentially lead us to a reliable power system that will deliver the required power in required quantity of required quality at the right place throughout the country. That is what is the intent, and that is what our strategy will drive us to. Thank you.